down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Hello everybody, welcome to this week's episode of MGR Unplugged. I'm already laughing because our first topic today, David, is going to be the presidential debate. And for a while I thought that maybe you and I would try to, be like Trump and Biden and start arguing and jumping into each other and doing all that, but I think we'll be a little more civilized. But speaking of which, what was your first impression on the debate?
My first impression?
Or your lasting impression more than first impression?
I mean, honestly, it was about what I expected.
Really? You expected that kind of on-stage slaughter?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect it to be very civil, no. I mean, I expected it to be a little... You know what's funny? That I noticed in the first, 2 or 3 minutes, Trump seemed like he was being much more, subdued and
civilized.
Polite than normal.
Yeah.
And I thought, because this is the first 2 or 3 minutes. And I thought, okay, so his debate preppers told him, hey, cool it a little bit, and because you're known as being the hothead, whatever, so let's try to show you more presidential composed. And that lasted about 2-3 minutes, and then it went
I think it lasted until they asked him about his taxes.
It lasted about 2-3 minutes until I forget what the first topic was.
I think they asked him
and
about the
Biden
taxes.
said something, and then Trump immediately.
The first question, I think, or the first major question was about the Supreme Court nominee and all that. But
was that the first question?
Well, one of the first topics. I believe it was one of the first ones. But to me, actually, it was worse than I expected. I mean, I expected some kind of. For one, I
thought the moderator didn't do a good job.
Well, yeah. Let me. That's
agreed.
my comment. I mean, I thought it was going to be kind of litigious or basically fighting a lot of exchanges between Biden and Trump with their different styles. But I thought the moderator would be able to control the conversation and stop one and let the other one speak or something. But then it became so belligerent between the triangle, between the three of them specifically. I mean, even at some point, Trump ended up saying, it looks like I'm debating you, Mike Wallace, the moderator, versus Biden, because Trump didn't like the way Mike Wallace asked a certain question. Then he said, you're asking me the question the wrong way and all that stuff. So, but aside from that, I actually was unimpressed as far as two political figures. One is the current president, the other one is a vice president who's been in politics for 40-something years, including 8 years being vice president. How poorly they both displayed their composure, being presidential, And granted, Trump is always the most aggressive, just his own personality. But I'm a little disappointed too in Biden that he actually got into the mud with him and started doing kind of the same thing with his reactions.
Yeah, he cracked pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What, 5-10 minutes in, he told him to shut up?
Yeah, shut up, and you're the worst president, this, and clown, and this. I mean, all those things, let's just stick to topics on policies and things like that and keep it more civilized. So I I was definitely a little bit unimpressed, and it was entertaining for sure, if that's what you expect from a debate. But as far as having any more clear picture of what each candidate plans to do or doesn't plan to do, I'm basically where I was before. So.
I also just think, and this has been said a million times, the debate format is terrible.
Yeah.
2 minutes to speak is not a lot. Especially depending on the topic, it's okay, you both have 2 minutes to speak on healthcare. It's you could do 2 hours on healthcare. I mean, healthcare, that's such a complicated topic.
Yeah, but not to mention that they don't even get the 2 minutes because if they are both interrupting
right, because then
each
they
other,
just interrupt each other. I know.
Then you end up spending half a minute rebutting what the other guy is interrupting you about, and then getting back to this, and then, it was not a good thing. However, as far as ratings, I just looked before the podcast started. Nielsen estimates that there were 73 million viewers of the debate just on TV. They don't have the numbers for non-TV viewers, basically people that were watching maybe streaming on their phones or computers or whatever else where that is not a TV set. So just to give you some perspective, that's the highest single event television audience since the Super Bowl, which is usually the highest event as far as what we see in the US as far as viewership. So that's a lot of people, 73 million people that were tuning in, which basically tells me that people either were looking for entertainment or they were looking for clarification on the policies of the two candidates. I personally was looking more for...
I think, I don't know. Like I said this last week, and I think I was right, that I don't think these debates are really going to change much. I don't think people who, because, you know...
Well, they do something. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't have it.
I always like to gauge people's reactions on Twitter, and it was exactly what I expected, right? People who like Trump thought Trump won the debate. People who like Biden thought Biden won the debate. And it was like, okay, that's exactly what I thought.
I also don't understand this thing about who won the debate. It's like always like CNN poll says that Biden won by whatever point. So it's like, this is not like a boxing match, even though it kind of looked like that. But I'm not looking for people winning the debate. Like, I don't know why they always saying,
but that's how they rate it.
Trump also lost the first debate against Hillary Clinton 4 years ago, but then he won the second one, and that's the one that it's not about winning or losing a debate. It's about debating and saying the art of debating is trying to basically establish your point and convince the other person that you're right, which they're not going to do to each other, of course, but it's convincing the audience, yeah, you know, he has a point about this, or he doesn't have a point about that. And hardly ever you're going to find one candidate that is 100% right. You're always going to find that you align more with one candidate, even though not everything is the way you want it. And then some of the things that the other candidate says are also positive, and hopefully whoever wins will pick up a little bit of both. But it's not about winning or losing. It's about basically saying, this is what I plan to do, at least plan to do, not that you're going to do it, because we all know that when after the elections, the presidents really rely on the House and the Senate and all that stuff to get some of the laws passed. But it's just clarification, you know. So, but I understand what you said, that, you know, if you are a hardcore Trump supporter, you're not going to be changing for whatever Biden says and vice versa, you know. But at the same time, people that are in the middle, they say, you know, Trump wasn't what I expected, but I'm not sure if Biden will be better or the other way around. I don't know if they were clear now as far as what might happen, you know. Because at the end of the day, you do know that this 2020 year has been the strangest year in everybody's lifetime, I think, unless you are super old and you have lived, you know, major events in the past. And you know, no president could have acted, you know.
Can I say one thing that always bothers me about this? And this is always like a very... People are so... how do you say it? Almost like results and coincidence minded, that
recency bias.
No, not even just recency bias, but like coincidence influences people. And so I'll give two examples for both candidates. So obviously Trump with the pandemic, right? And he gets a lot of the blame for the pandemic. And I was on this podcast saying many of the things he did wrong. But at the same time, the idea that like if Biden were president, we'd have no deaths or something. I mean, every country in the world is affected. It's a global pandemic, okay?
Right.
There's no easy reaction. And Trump was unfortunate enough to be the president with the global pandemic, right?
And the other point...
But I'll give you the other example. Like the Obama-Biden thing of they inherited the recession in 2009, and then basically, they grew all these jobs. It's like, well, okay, yes and no. They happened to be, right, the recession happened to be at the bottom, right when they got in office, when Bush left, and so they inherited it. But I wouldn't say it was them that saved the country, okay? The country saves itself. Countries don't go in recession forever. You bounce back. They also did a lot of bad things, like remember Cash for Clunkers, which was a disaster, and all these things, right? And so the TARP, I mean, you had so many things that went wrong in the post-recession, but we recovered anyways because basically countries recover. You don't stay in recession forever, especially in the United States.
It's just a normal cycle.
And then same thing, like Trump takes so much credit for the stock market. It's like, yeah, well, I mean, okay. I mean, just because the stock market goes up doesn't mean the economy is good. So like all these people take credit or don't take credit for things whenever they're convenient. And it's like, the truth is, the majority of the American economy is pretty separate from the President of the United States.
Yeah.
The President of the United States does not affect most of the economy.
Well,
most of the
and-
economy is small businesses and companies doing things on their own. And if anything, government just gets in the way. It doesn't help them.
And especially the market.
One other thing, when all these presidents say, "I'm gonna create this many millions of jobs," government doesn't create jobs.
Right.
People create jobs.
Right.
Companies create jobs. Unless the government is directly hiring people, and even when the government directly hires people, that's from taxpayer dollars anyways.
Right.
So the government doesn't create any jobs.
Yeah,
the government doesn't create
that's exactly
wealth.
the point. Like just in the last couple of days, you have Disney announcing 28,000 layoffs because of the COVID crisis. American Airlines and United Airlines are both combined for about 40,000 layoffs too, because they can't stand anymore. And it's pretty obvious when you fly these days that the planes are parked on runways and flying at half capacity. So I mean, they lasted for a few months, but they're already announcing layoffs. So the president did not create the jobs when they were created, and the president is not laying off people when their jobs are not there. Companies have to do that because there's no other option. And it's just as you said, I mean, the president takes credit, or the presidents in general take credit for things that they inherited, and things don't happen overnight. You know, one of the things that Trump said is that he was going to repeal and revoke Obamacare. Okay, well, 4 years later, nothing's happened. It's not that easy, okay? It's not that easy. It wasn't that easy to create. Yeah, it's not perfect, whatever. We're not going to get into that discussion. But it's not easy to replace or revoke. You cannot just wipe it off. And he found that out over the last 3.5 years.
That's why we always joke, like,
Right.
every candidate is always like, day one in office. Like, you're not doing shit
Yeah.
day one in office. Okay, give me a break. Like, you people act like, oh, day one in office, I'm just going to change the whole healthcare system. It's like, I'm going to change all. I'm like, okay, you can't just change the healthcare system.
But apparently,
like that.
apparently those things work
Okay.
because people fall for those traps.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
they
But-
fall for that shit. And
You know, the truth is, this is what I always think about the president, and I think is more or less the truth if you look at basically presidential history. The president is very important in times of war and pandemic, which is a kind of an
states
alternative
of emergency, I
an
think.
alternative type of war, and foreign policy is where the president has a lot of power. But on domestic policy, presidents don't have that much power. The president can't just do things, right? Congress has the power on domestic policy, not the president. So if the president can't get things through Congress, the president can't do anything. They can veto things.
But see, I agree.
They can do executive orders, but that's temporary. As far as getting legislation passed, the president cannot do anything domestically. Where the president has a lot of power, and this is what you see, where do presidents always have the biggest impact, right? Where did Bush have the biggest impact? Foreign policy. Obama, the biggest impact. Other than the ACA, which he basically did executive orders and pushed through, which then a lot of it got repealed and is not permanent.
Right.
Most of his impact was foreign policy. Trump really domestically has not done much. Almost everything he's done is China and the Middle East, all this stuff, right? Foreign
Trade,
policy.
mostly.
So presidents have way more power foreign policy. So really, when you're looking at presidents, you should be probably voting for the one who has the best foreign policy.
I just
'Cause
wonder-
domestically, they're not going to get much done.
This is a hypothetical question, but I just wonder if COVID didn't happen, how contested would be this election, really?
I definitely think Trump would be winning if it weren't for
Right.
COVID. No, I
Right.
definitely think so.
Because, but that's the thing that I really try to be as impartial as possible and say, okay, let's just backtrack.
Oh, yeah.
To March.
No, because
let's
remember-
say that Biden was the president in January, February, March, leading into COVID. I don't really know what Biden would have done differently, because if in reality all the stuff that
Yeah,
they're
no.
saying about shutting down the country, all the stuff, well, actually, the president did not shut down the country. The governors, that was a famous dispute when you say, "I'll shut down this and that," and then he said, they told him, says, no, by constitution, the governors have authority over their states. And then he had to kind of modify his statement saying, we will advise the governors of this and that. And then most of the Republic governors in famous, Texas and all that, they were the first to open again or reopen the economy back in May after Memorial Day. Whereas some of the Democratic governors were more like, we're going to stay shut down and everything, and now they're in a big crisis. So I don't know what Biden would have done differently, saying either we keep shut down, which is really bad for the economy. I mean, it's proven that no country in the world, no country in the Western world thinks that lockdown will work again. They are all trying to get away and say we're going to partially lock down this area or this nucleus or this confinement or something, but they know that their own economies will not survive a second lockdown, nor will the people that live in those countries, because at some point you have other issues that are unintended consequences that come after locking down, which people don't have jobs, they have other kinds of other problems. So now for Biden to say, oh, you ruined this country's economy because of all the handling of the pandemic, I'm like, honestly, yeah, everybody can play Monday morning quarterback when we learn more stuff, but I don't know what could have been done differently back then. We've all learned a lot in the last 6-7 months about the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, you could have done the things differently.
But different is one thing. Better is another.
I think Trump's biggest mistake, and I said it when we were on this podcast back in February and March, and I said he should have shut it down sooner. That was it. That was the biggest mistake.
Right.
He should have shut it down sooner.
No,
I agree. I'm saying I don't think that because this was the pandemic. It has become this, but it shouldn't be a partisan issue. I mean, and
Exactly.
you can look globally at all the world leaders, left, right, whatever. Pretty much everybody fucked it up. I mean,
Right.
it doesn't matter
Nobody
what
had
they
new
were.
direction.
So
no,
I mean,
but
yeah,
shutting
it's
it
very
down
easy to obviously play
shutting it down
hindsight.
sooner is also something that we can say now. But when he shut down China and all that stuff, he was criticized for doing that, even though he was the first one who did it. Every travel from China, and a week after he said every travel from Europe except for 2-3 countries, including the UK. And then when the UK started increasing, he said, okay, UK shut down too.
This is what I'm saying. So this is why I say presidents get too much credit and too much blame
Right.
for things that really aren't them. And it's not just Trump. It was Obama. It was Bush. It's like every president, and I get it. They're the face of the nation, right? They're the ones who are the representatives. So when things are good, they're gonna get credit for things they don't deserve credit for, and when things are bad, they're gonna get blamed for things that they probably don't deserve blame for. But yeah, I again, like on the flip side, right? Trump. How many times has he talked about the stock market? It's like, well, if you just artificially pump money into
Right,
things
that
and
we
keep the
know.
stock market up,
That we know.
Okay, sure, it's gonna go great. You have mass unemployment in the streets, but the stock market's doing well. Okay, cool. The thing, that you said last week, that you're definitely right about, and that I think, if Biden loses, it will be because of this. Is he's very heavy and aggressive about saying how he's going to raise taxes. If I'm him and I'm his campaign advisor, I would be very cautious about how I talk about those things, because he is pretty aggressive about talking about raising taxes. And as we all know, people love to talk about social issues and all these things, but when it comes to voting,
Their own
they
wallet.
vote with their wallet. It's
Yeah.
the money, stupid.
And
This is Bill
the same
Clinton.
thing
He
for
said it way back in
corporations.
the day.
When corporations in the U.S. had the highest corporate tax rate, one of the highest in the world, and finally went down from like 35% to 21%. Now he says it's going to bring it up to 28%. Well, corporations at the end of the day, they're now hurting to stay in business. They're hurting with keeping employees, and now you're going to increase their taxes again.
Remember, the biggest criticism against Hillary Clinton's campaign versus Trump's campaign in the last election was Hillary was incredibly focused on social issues, and Trump was all money. Trump was all, China's stealing from us, I'm going to get us the best trade deal. I'm going to cut taxes. I'm going to build a wall, Mexico's going to pay for it. I'm going to go to Europe and we're going to get NATO to pay for all these things, right? It was money, 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 money. I'm going to get all these jobs. I'm going to bring manufacturing back. That's all he talked about. Trump did not talk about social issues at all. He just talked about money. Hillary Clinton was the opposite. And everybody said, this is a bad idea. You should talk about financial things. And then she lost. And in an upset, people were surprised, whatever. And that was the number one factor. And if you remember, it's like her own husband, Bill Clinton, won because he basically said, it's the money, stupid. People care about money over everything else.
Right.
And so if they think that you're going to cause increases in taxes, their 401ks are going to go down because you're going to regulate Wall Street or whatever, like with Biden, people are going to be like, I don't know about that. Even if they totally disagree with Trump on social issues, if they think that he's going to cost them money, that's why you have these quote unquote like closet Trump supporters that you hear about in like LA and New York and stuff, where it's like, you think these rich people are all liberals? I don't think so.
No, they're not.
I think a lot of the rich people pretend to be, but then when they actually vote, they vote.
Of course. And the same guys that are criticizing
money. So if I
Trump's taxes and all that stuff are the ones that are trying to avoid.
I think if Biden loses, it will be because he's very aggressive about talking about taxes. And I think he needs to lay off of that, honestly. I think that'll be his biggest weakness.
That brings me to the next topic, on a nice segue. As far as campaign ads, I'm kind of wondering, even though I'm in the ad industry.
And if I'm Trump, by the way, on the flip side, if I'm Trump campaign advisor, I would just go hard and heavy on Biden is going to basically ruin the economy. He's going to cost so much money, raise so much taxes.
It's going to take more money out of your pocket.
He's going to get rid of jobs. Like that. I would be, if I'm Trump's campaign, I'm like going hard on that, right? And if I'm Biden's campaign, I'm backing off and trying to be like, oh, I don't know about taxes. Well, we'll see.
So let me ask you, when it comes to campaign ads, that we see tons of them these days, especially after the debate. In the last, couple of days, I've seen I don't watch much TV, but every time I watch something, sporting events mostly, there's campaign ad after campaign ad, and they are obviously for opposite parties and everything. But let me ask you flat out, do you think campaign ads work?
Of course. That's why they do them.
You think really they are effective? I mean,
yeah, of course.
I don't know if I'm a different kind of person, but when I see those campaign ads, and I don't care if they're for Trump or Biden or even local senators or governors or whatever the campaign ad is for, I get to a point where it's like ad fatigue. First of all, they're so poorly produced. Most of them are so poorly
just look
produced.
At the whole Facebook thing. Facebook swung the election. How do they do that?
Well, yeah,
ads.
It's funny you said that, because I think actually on social media they might be more effective for some reason. I don't know if on television they are. I don't know if on television commercials for campaigns, when they say something.
Yeah,
and then
they're incredibly effective. I mean, they're 100% effective. They wouldn't do them. I mean, they spend millions and millions and millions of them. If they weren't effective, they wouldn't do them. They've done plenty of studies where they can look at, because first of all, they don't do lots of national ads. They do some, but for the most part, these are very targeted ads. And so they have a specific ad. Like for us, we're in Arizona. Arizona looks like it's going to be very much a swing state in this election.
Which didn't used to be, but
right. The polls show pretty even for Biden and Trump in this election right now. So right now, we are getting bombarded with tons of ads for Trump and Biden right now.
But that's the thing. I'm so fatigued of those ads.
Okay, sure. You might be fatigued.
I'm not even watching those anymore. I don't even know what they say. I don't care.
But the thing with ads too is there's the conscious and the subconscious. Most advertising is actually very subconscious. It's not so much consciously like, oh, I'm watching this. It's more of a subconscious thing. It's the same with like kind of branding, right? So yes, the answer is they do work. It's been proven to work. They wouldn't spend hundreds of millions every campaign season on ads if it didn't work. So yes, they definitely work.
All right.
Now, does a Biden ad work to swing a strong Trump supporter? No, of course not. And vice versa.
We know.
But on the middle ground people, yes, they do work. Yes.
All right. So let me switch topics completely. We're done with politics for today, at least for now.
Yes, thank you. Let's move on.
So the next debate will be with the vice presidential debate, which is with Mike Pence and Kamala Harris. That one will be hopefully much more.
I won't say it. Never mind. I had something somewhat controversial to say, but should I go for it?
Well, it depends. Yeah, I'm not going to censor you.
I'm going to say it, and let me think about how I want to say this. Everybody should go out and vote and do whatever they want to do. But if you previously were not going to vote, and what changed your mind and made you decide to vote was that some celebrity posted on Instagram that you need to go vote, and that's what swung you, you probably shouldn't vote. I'm just going to say it, okay? Sorry. You need to vote. Get on. Who? Why? are we getting bombarded with all these celebrities and athletes and all these people? And they have total right to say whatever they want. I have no problem with any celebrity or athlete saying whatever the hell they want. I don't care. People can use their platform for whatever reason they want. But I'm saying if you have no idea about any policy and are not following anything, and then just because you see Justin Bieber post that you should go vote,
Well,
and that's what sways you.
He's Canadian.
Yeah, that too. It's like, what are we doing? I mean,
Well, I understand that, and I totally agree with you. However,
it's so demeaning.
Well,
to me, they treat people like children. They treat people like they're fucking morons.
well, to me, the main thing is that these celebrities, they have no more or less values than any other person. And
of course not. They're
they
just
live their
moral people
lives
with money. That's all they are.
You're right, and they, to me, depending on the celebrity or whatever, but just because you happen to be an actor or an athlete or something, and you have a certain celebrity status, but morally you're not any more important, or you don't have any more education or anything than I do. In fact, most of the time, celebrities have very little education, and then they're trying to tell you how to live your life. When in their personal lives they're just a freaking wreck themselves. Yet when it comes to voting, they say, "Oh, you should go and vote, and you should go and do
one of my
this."
favorite things is how Hollywood is so heavy on like climate change, and then they fly fucking private jets and shit.
Right. Oh yeah, everything.
fuck off.
And they,
I
they
mean-
all have their own textile brands and these,
Yeah.
which is all that shit. So
Exactly.
is the big irony of the thing. But
I mean,
I think
someone
the only
was
part,
joking. It's like when you go to the Oscars, it's like a parade of fucking limousines
Yeah,
and shit.
yeah.
Hey, why don't you guys carpool
Yeah.
or something? It's like, no, I mean,
and
they're
the
hypocrites.
designer brands that are made in China and sweatshops and all that shit. So, but the thing is that on that aspect, it's almost like influential advertising, even though they're not being paid for that.
I mean,
but they are basically
how much of a
acting as
bombardment
influencers.
of get out and vote have you seen?
Yeah.
I mean, it is everywhere.
Yeah.
And again, I don't care. People should go vote. If you have any beliefs or you like candidates, whatever, go vote. But also, like, the idea that you should be like, it used to be, there was the idea of the educated, well-informed voter, right? No, don't just go and vote based on what some celebrity tells you to vote for.
No,
That's
but it's
crazy.
no different than celebrities endorsing everything else, and people buying something just because a celebrity endorsed it.
I just
It's
think
like-
when I see these things, it comes off so demeaning,
Right.
to me personally.
yeah,
Like,
like
oh,
condescending, like saying, I'm gonna vote because
yeah, exactly.
the-
I'm
the-
a
the-
peasant.
The
and-
Rock told me to vote.
Right. I'm a peasant and I'm an idiot and I don't know anything, but you, Kylie Jenner, told me to vote, so now I'm gonna go vote. You know?
If you wait for Kylie Jenner to tell you to vote, then you
Well, she
definitely
was
don't.
posting about
Yeah,
go
I know,
vote,
I
and
know.
they were saying, "Oh my God, look at this! Look at the impact she made. They got 80,000 people to sign up because of Kylie Jenner's post." I'm like, okay, but those 80,000 people, I'm like, if that's what made them vote, those people should not
Well,
vote. I'm sorry.
They'll sign up. We'll see if they actually go to vote.
Yeah, I know, but
So, anyways,
it's just, anyways,
let's
that's my rant.
turn the
Go
page.
vote if you want to, but if you don't want to vote and you don't like the candidates, you don't have to vote. It's not like people who say not voting is a vote for. No, that's not how it works. You don't have to vote, or you can vote third party. You can vote whoever you want. Don't vote because a celebrity told you to vote. That's my point. Okay, vote because you want to vote and you believe in something.
Make your own decisions in your life. That's better. All right, so let me switch topics completely. We're gonna get into more e-commerce now because this is basically the core, believe it or not, of this podcast. Even though we spent about half an hour for the first 10-minute segment, so we're a little over, just like at the debates. But we're more civilized. We don't have a Mike Wallace here moderating. So,
Oh, the last thing we didn't mention.
David, come on.
Sorry,
we're off.
that we both made fun of, that we noticed. And I'm sure people at home noticed this too. Biden, so many times he would look directly into the camera.
yeah.
And like start pointing at the It was so funny. It was like, I know the debate
Making
prep.
eye
The
contact.
debate prep people told him.
Yeah.
I always think about these things of like, what are the people backstage thinking that prepared for this
Yeah,
debate?
yeah.
And they're like, hey, you need. They have these like monologues ready for them, and they're like, look into the camera.
They have
and
these
point.
They have these
and talk. It was
body
really funny.
language experts analyzing the body language to see if they are lying or hiding the truth or whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
sure they told them, you look at the camera straight.
Trump
and they told How they
really,
was his camera. Trump was always like leaning like this and looking at Biden and looking at Mike Wallace and Biden.
Trump
He didn't
really
fucking care
needs
about
to
the
get
cameras.
control of his eye rolls because he
Yeah.
must have eye rolled 50,000
Yeah,
times.
no,
in
that and
hour.
the his mouth expression, like, and then they were criticizing Trump's family too because no one of them was wearing a mask, when they were sitting. And
But
then
weren't they all tested?
they were all tested there, but then I don't know, social distance, whatever. But none of them was wearing a mask. And in contrast, Jill Biden was actually wearing a mask when she went up on the stage
Yeah.
to hug and kiss
Did you
her
notice that
husband.
Melania didn't like hug or kiss anything when she got on stage to Trump?
I think it was part of the rule or something. I don't know.
No, because Jill or whoever,
Yeah.
Jill Biden, is that her name?
Yeah,
She
Jill,
like went
yeah.
up and hugged and kissed him.
Well, no, she had a mask.
Joe, or
They-
whatever,
uh,
I don't know. But Melania just walked up and then they just held hands, but they didn't hug or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, Melania.
After the
yeah,
debate.
yeah. Melania. I thought
I
you were
noticed
talking.
that.
I thought you were talking Ivanka. No. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the behavior was a little odd, but I think there were so many rules that they said the candidates are not going to shake hands or even fist bumps or even elbow butts or whatever. Nothing. Like they would say, just go up and say hi, wave, whatever. It was weird. Anyway, so for now, for sure. Moving on. So Amazon Prime Day. It was just announced that it's
Oh, that's a big-
confirmed. Confirmed to.
It's a big change of topic.
Yeah, big
right?
change. So we're done with elections for now, until next weekend. Anyways, Amazon Prime Day. It was confirmed that it's going to be October 13th and 14th.
Yeah, a little late. Thanks, Amazon.
Well, that's my thing.
They,
Prime
they
Day.
gave sellers no
Prime
time
Day
to
is
prepare.
what I call the Christmas in July for Amazon. They have this day in the middle of the year, which, by the way, is a weird day because it's kind of like from 12 p.m. through 12 p.m. or 11:59. It's one day, 24 hours basically, but it actually expands to 2 days. So it's going to be this in October, in a couple of weeks from today. We're recording this on October 1st. So really, it's going to be like like a Thursday, Friday or something. And they have the Prime Day, 13th, 14th, 24 hours of smoking deals and all that. Now we need to see how the rest of the retailers are going to match it, like the Best Buys, the Targets, the Walmarts, and all that stuff, see what deals they have. But the thing this year is that, first of all, they announced it too late, as you said. I think they were waiting to see how the situation pans, as far as shopping and
Yeah,
everything
because
else.
right now, everybody's just trying to get their inventory ready for Black Friday.
Right, for the
and
holiday
now nobody has inventory ready for this.
Right.
So they have whatever they have in inventory.
But that's the other thing, that
But
that's on the retailer side. But on the consumer side, everybody's trying to figure out what's going on. I mean, kids are going back to school partially. They're still not at school physically. They're still doing, like, depending on where you live and where you are, they have these remote lessons and all that, and then going back to school. And then that's the weekend sometimes in some places where you have a fall break or something, and the kids are off school for maybe again for another week or something. But then we're 5 weeks away or so from the traditional
yeah,
Black
I think
Friday,
they shoved it in
Thanksgiving.
because they didn't want to skip it. But I mean,
But my main
I don't
question
think it's
is,
going to be very big this
well,
year.
people are not going to buy the same thing twice, so they're not going to spend twice the money, hopefully. So are people now going to buy ahead what will normally be bought Cyber Monday or Black
I
Friday,
don't know.
or are they just going to say, okay, I'm going to buy little things?
I don't think people are. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't know. Normally, Prime Day is a pretty big day. It's pretty
It
decent,
is.
But
It is a pretty
I don't
big-
think it's going to be very big this year.
Well, I agree. I mean, I have to say that when you buy something in July, you kind of have something a
Right.
whole 4 or 5 months to decide what you get for Christmas, and one bucket doesn't take from the other. Now we have the holiday shopping bucket of whatever budget you have, that you have to decide, am I going to take money from this bucket now and spend it on this smoking deal that I'm going to get now because maybe it's not going to be around later, or I'm going to just skip the Prime Day and buy everything a month later when it's actually Cyber Monday and Black Friday weekend and all that stuff, which this year is going to be much more online than physically at the stores. So, in other words, if a family has X amount of money to spend, they're not going to have extra money now just because Prime Day showed up next 2 weeks. They're going to have to take money from this to give it to that. Or so overall, the retail numbers, well, I don't think they're going to improve that much, for these retailers, whether it's online retailers or physical retailers. So I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to work this year, to be honest. If Amazon just kind of said, okay, we promised a Prime Day and we didn't have it, we pushed it back and now we just need to squeeze it out. mid-October, because anything later is going to be totally negative. Anything sooner, we don't know what's going to happen. So now they said, okay, October 13th, 14th. So, comments?
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you have inventory for it, go for it. If you for all the Amazon sellers, I don't think it's going to be as big of a day as it normally is, but maybe I'm sure it'll still be bigger than any normal day.
But one thing important is that Prime Day is actually exclusive to Prime members, so it's not available.
Yeah, but
I mean, a lot of people do a trial membership just to be able to buy.
I mean, Prime Day.
No, I mean the Prime deals are just for Prime members. That's
no,
confirmed.
I know, but also the Prime members are the ones who spend all the money.
No, I understood. So, but if I'm a family that I'm not a Prime member and I go to Amazon, I see these deals, but I'm not a Prime member to take advantage of the deal.
Amazon also uses it to onboard.
Right.
It's one of their biggest days for getting new Prime members.
Right, that's the purpose. So if Amazon is doing it, say, well, we don't care much about the sales because whether we sell now in October or we sell in November, December, it's fine. We'll still sell. But if we get this day to onboard more members, even if it's a trial membership that then some people will cancel or some people will stay, that's another $170 a year that they get. So maybe that is the reason behind having the Prime Day as opposed to saying, this year, just like many other things have been canceled, we'll cancel Prime Day and just continue next year, which wouldn't be wrong. I mean, they will say, we're just going to focus on Christmas. But they still kind of put it in there, which is forcing, like you said, all the retailers to say, shoot, what do we do now? Because now we're preparing inventory for Christmas, but now, I mean, you're Walmart, you don't want people to buy the 4K TV at Amazon just because you don't have a similar offer. I mean, they always try to match it. They cannot call it Prime Day, but they call it something else, and now it's putting the other retailers also on a little bit of a bind, trying to match some offers ahead of time or they will normally planning to do later, So that's just something to think about, and we'll see, because we do also a lot of advertising ourselves for Amazon sellers and clients. So I don't know, how will it pan out. So any other comments, anything? What other news do we have on in the DTC front as far as direct to consumer? You were saying that most companies are starting to kind of branch out a little bit, trying to diversify their sales outlets, and even you start as a DTC, you also like to have multi-channel approach where you sell also.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the more channels you have, the better. Obviously, DTC is great. The DTC, I've said this many times, is the great starter. It's great for launching. It's great if you are. That's right, because before the internet, there was no DTC. It was either. There was, but it was. The barrier to entry was you needed to own a storefront, which is not cheap. So that's why most brands small brands don't own storefronts. They go to retailers. Now you can have a digital storefront, and it's very cheap, right? You make a Shopify store, and it costs you basically nothing. And so it's very cheap. But you're not going to, it depends on the category. There are some DTC brands that are exceptions to the rule that do become billion-dollar companies DTC, but they're incredibly rare. The far majority of them become omni-channel, and that's totally fine. You want to reach the customers where they are. That's what you care about. The thing that people forget about the problem with DTC is that you have to acquire all of the customers yourself. So you have tons of customer acquisition costs. When you use other retailers, they're acquiring customers for you. So even though your margins are smaller,
right,
because you're giving them a cut, they also have a huge customer base that you can get access to, and now you're in their storefronts. They're going to do the selling for you, the customer service for you, the returns for you. They're going to do all that shit. And they're going to market you.
But there's also disadvantages. Some of the major retailers have control. You don't control your brand completely.
But not if you have leverage. The beauty of DTC is if you can go to a retailer and say, look, we do $50 million a year online. okay, direct to consumer, and you go to retailers with that leverage, then you can negotiate good deals. That's the difference.
Yes, but we also know retailers that basically when a product, for whatever reason, maybe the market is not appropriate for that particular product in that particular store or something, they discount your products to like devaluing the value of your brand. So there's a lot of
you also
negatives.
have to choose your retail partners right.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you don't want to just go to anybody. You need to go with who fits your brand. And again, it depends on the category. But if you're in like food and beverage, you have no choice. You need to be in retail.
Yeah,
and in
food and
grocery
beverage
stores.
is probably one of the biggest exceptions because the shipping specifically, and that's another topic we're going to discuss too.
Yeah,
the shipping of food and beverage is very expensive.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing that people would probably be more prone to buying actually at a store as opposed to receiving, in the mail or shipping. So, speaking of shipping, we do know that most of the major shippers, at least in the U.S., like FedEx, UPS, and even the U.S. Postal Service, which has been in the news a lot lately, have pretty much agreed to not have like a price war and kind of
they're raising prices.
They're raising
for
the
holiday
prices
season.
basically for the
So
holidays.
if you're not aware, now you're aware. Get ready for prices to increase, and I don't think it's going to be little increase. I mean, there's talks that depending on what you're shipping, you could see double the pricing of shipping costs.
So that
people
obviously,
need to be ready for that.
Who's paying for that? Because at the end of the day,
Well, obviously the consumer does at the end of the day, but that means that the consumer is going to say, well, that's when e-com gets hurt versus retail, right? E-com works great when the logistics prices are very cheap and you can either offer free shipping and just embed the cost within the price of the product or offer very cheap shipping. But if all of a sudden the price of the shipping goes up a lot, then it has to be ultimately the consumer pays for it. Whether you offer free shipping and raise your price or lower your price and offer and have paid shipping, doesn't matter. Ultimately the consumer is paying for it, right? But if it becomes too cost prohibitive, where something that is going to cost them $50 online costs them $35 in a store, they're going to buy it for $35.
if they have the option to buy it also at the store. Like we said, some of the brands they may look for or products are not available in the store, so they don't have a choice.
Sure, that's when brand exclusivity matters, right? Obviously, if you have a lot of brand value, then you say, listen, our site or these specific retailers are the only place you can get it, and you have that leverage. But the truth is, let's be honest, most companies don't have that leverage, especially if you sell a commoditized product.
So if you are used to offering free shipping for a certain volume of purchase or something, and you see that the price of shipping now is going to increase from all your shippers, it doesn't matter who you use, do you try to... Well, you can negotiate with your shipper individually saying, hey, what kind of rates can I get? Which normally they all get lower rates, even though the lower rate would be a little higher this time. Or do you tell your consumers, okay, before it was free shipping for purchases over $50, now it's going to be free shipping for purchases over $75?
Yeah, you can do all types of things. But the point is, you're going to lose customers because of that, right? Like the
or you're
customers...
gonna make your customers buy more at once versus... Like if I'm buying something once a month and I'm used to getting my free shipping because I'm over the $50 limit or something or threshold, then I'm gonna have to buy maybe 2 months ahead of merchandise to say, okay, I'm still gonna get what I need for 2 months. You're just gonna buy it at once, and I still get the free shipping. So it's just like a little planning.
Sure, but do a lot of people want to buy 2 months ahead of time?
Well, I mean, if it's something that is a recurring purchase, I don't see a problem with that. I mean, if it's something that you buy on a regular basis.
I'm not saying nobody would do it, but the percent of people that would do it for 1 month versus 1 month ahead of time versus the percent of people who would do it 2 months ahead of time is lower.
Like all these, for example, all these subscription services that are coming now even with food. I mean, you and I follow a lot of brands that are doing this kind of box services where they ship food to you once a month or whatever you want, and they have these packages that are, okay, $149 a month, and we send you 5 pounds of meat and this fish and this and that, all these products. And this free shipping is part of your membership. So are those guys going to have to increase their membership fees or decrease the cost? I mean, they're going to have to decide on...
It depends on the company. Like Butcher Box is one of the big ones. Maybe they'll be able to absorb the cost. They're a big company, and they know the lifetime value of their customers, so they might be fine. But, I mean, those subscription boxes things, There's a lot of them. Most of them fail.
Yeah, they can divide the cost of shipping between a lot of months because people are subscribed.
Yeah,
so.
the value of the subscription box is you have a huge lifetime value for the customer. The problem with them is that most of them fail, basically.
What do you mean they fail? Like people,
Like they just go out of business.
Oh,
Like,
the
I mean,
companies.
one of the
the
biggest
companies.
ones, one of the biggest and one of the oldest was Loot Crate, which sold like collectible items for different like genres, for gaming, for like comic book people, whatever, and that was one of the biggest.
Yeah, but that's
and
not
that
a-
was I mean, Loot Crate was huge in terms of revenue.
Yeah, but they weren't
But they
selling-
were just burning cash, and then they went out of business.
Yeah, but they were selling non-essential items type thing. Like if you're buying food,
Sure, but the problem with the food is the margins are very low.
right? But
So you don't have huge margins on food. If you're selling, like, I don't know what Butcher Box margins are. I can't imagine they're massive, right? Because they sell a commodity product. You can get meat in a lot of places. But they know, okay, our gross margin on an individual purchase is not that much as far as one specific box. But once we acquire this customer, we know on average our customers stay with us for 2 years, whatever.
Right.
Then we make the money back, right? So I'm sure Butcher Box has all those numbers. But my point is, I mean, the subscription box is very tough. When it succeeds, you can make a lot of money because you have a subscription, right? And subscription businesses are great, but it's very tough.
Yeah,
and the
they-
customer acquisition costs are very high.
right. So for the talking back to Christmas time and all that, when people ship things or buy things, they'll probably have to consider the sellers. We're gonna have to consider who's gonna pay for the shipping, because if you are used to shipping something for $10-12 with FedEx and all of a sudden it's gonna cost you $18. Somebody has to pay for those $4 extra dollars, and you pay yourself. That's $4 you take off your profit, which may not have enough margin to absorb that cost, and you make the customer buy it.
Right.
The
You have
customer may
two
buy
problems
something
right now
else.
that we're going to see major impacts going into the holiday season. And that's A, shipping costs are going up, and B, customer acquisition costs are going up because for various reasons. One, just the digital marketing
Advertising.
competition
Yeah.
is going up. There's more and more and more companies spending more and more and more money on ads on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, all the platforms. So the acquisition costs keep going up, and then on top of that, like we'll probably talk about this in a minute, but Facebook's going through a lot of changes right now. One of the biggest is the 28-day tracking window is now gone. It's only 7 days, which that's a pretty big deal, especially for something like a subscription box, for example, or anything that basically people typically won't buy within 7 days. Something that's not an instant purchase, right?
That's as far as the attribution on the tracking of the campaign
Right. If you're an
results.
impulse buy item, maybe you won't be very affected. But if you're somebody who sells something that's of more value, like luxury, is going to be fucking hurt by this. I mean, people don't normally buy luxury items on the first ad.
Right.
It takes a lot.
Right.
And so if all of a sudden their 28-day window is shrunk to 7, that hurts badly. Anything that's a more premium, expensive item is going to get
the other
hurt
thing
really
Facebook
bad.
has already confirmed, and that was something that they announced a while ago, but they didn't say exactly when it was going to be implemented, is the limiting the number of ads per page. So for the big advertisers.
Yes. I don't understand that. They weren't clear about that at all.
Well, now apparently they're more clear, and we're not going to get into that because there's a lot of details. But they have like a medium-sized advertiser, a large-sized advertiser, but basically they're going to limit advertisers with a pretty good budget. Were able to create thousands of ads to game their algorithm and basically
That was the game.
right.
The name of the game. When you're working with big
It's
budgets,
like
the name of the
if you
game
have
is make a ton of basically
Right.
just pick a ton of them and test.
Right.
That's the name
so
of the
so
game.
what they were doing is it's like if you play the lottery but you buy all the numbers, and you say, okay, I'm going to buy all the numbers. Then for sure I'm going to win. Yeah, I'm going to lose some money, but I'm going to win. And then once I know who's winning, then I'm going to better put all my money on that number. So they were gaming the algorithm to find out faster by flooding the Facebook with their ads with literally thousands of different variations of their ads. So Facebook now has said that they're going to limit the number of ads depending on your amount of ad spend. You're going to have only so many ads and so many ads and so many ads, depending on how much you spend. So that's also going to kind of level the playing field a little bit for the smaller advertisers. We're talking some advertisers that spend like $100,000 or $200,000. I mean, these are big spend advertisers that the small store that is trying to spend like $2,000-$3,000 a month obviously has nowhere to compete. You're selling something that is the same as any major advertiser, and you're spending $3,000 a month. Another advertising is spending like $50,000 a month. I'm flooding the market with all the ads. I'm learning much faster with their algorithms, which ads are working or not. They're totally going to dominate the advertising space. So it's just a game. You have to, it's pay to play, and it's becoming even more obvious right now. So to make your point, yeah, advertising costs, especially in the digital marketing side, are increasing very, very rapidly.
I think the golden era of cheap acquisition plus cheap logistics is over. I think that companies are going to have to get smarter with their marketing. I think they're going to have to go through more channels. They're going to have to just do lots of different things. So companies are going to have to be more creative and do more unique things if they want to stand out. Plus, on top of that, most of these companies honestly are just copycat brands of each other, right? Once you have one successful company, you have 10 others that copy it.
Right.
So I don't have a ton of sympathy if you're just a copycat brand and now all of a sudden you had this thing that was working and things changed and you got screwed. Sorry. I mean, companies just need to be smarter, and I think that they're realizing that now. But this is when you really find out who are the truly talented people in DTC and who are the ones that were just faking it.
I always say that consistency is key. I mean, you cannot just do this kind of shotgun the market and then the advertising arena that disappear. I mean, you need to constantly be there with something and researching and changing and trying and testing and modifying and doing it again. It's just a constant game. And sometimes...
Yeah, but you know who's going to win now?
But when you do it right...
You know who's going to win now? All the companies who didn't fall for the cocaine addiction that is the Facebook ads, that they're super addictive when they work, but the second they don't, you're screwed.
Right.
The companies who focused on organic, the companies who focused on creating their own content houses,
right.
their own media,
that's what I mean. There's
and own their customers.
A long-term approach at the end of the day is always going to be the organic part, which is basically the planting the tree, is going to work because that tree is going to be very solid and you're going to have all this information.
The things that are going to matter much more, I think, in the next few years than did in the past are customer loyalty. So not just can you acquire a customer, but can you get a customer to continuously buy from you for multiple years? That's the true value. Yeah. 2, do you own your own audiences? Do you have some form of way of selling to your customers, to your audience without paying for it? And basically having an actual good quality differentiated product. There's too many copycat products. There's not enough unique products out there. So those are the 3 things that matter. And it makes sense. Those are the things that always mattered. But when you have this kind of Facebook advertising bubble where you can get away with being undisciplined basically and still make money, all of a sudden that bubble popped. It's no different than like a stock market bubble, right? Yeah. You have a period of time where everybody's making money, like kind of right now, honestly, and it's like it just keeps going up, it keeps going up. But then all these people are being undisciplined. But guess what? That's gonna come back to bite you. Right. You're going to get hit at some point, and that's what's happening to a lot of these brands.
Yeah. All right. So another brand that is trying to make quick money, fast and easy, is Netflix. And there's no better way to make more money than keeping everything the same, just increasing your rates too. So that's what Netflix.
Okay, that's an example.
Yeah, that's what Netflix
great
is planning
product,
on doing.
Great customer loyalty. Guess what? They can raise their prices, and they're probably not going to lose too many subscribers.
No, they won't.
They're going to say, we're just going to raise our prices, make a few billion extra, no
which
problem.
Which in the case of Netflix, it's not confirmed yet, but they basically, when there's what they say, there's smoke, there's fire or something. There's already rumors and lots of articles saying that Netflix will increase their rates mostly for the North American and European markets by $1 to $2, depending on the subscription type. And they have, I think, 3 basic subscriptions. What they call the basic one, the one where you have multiple users, and then the 4K one. So they are all like 15, 16 or something like that. Like the cheaper one, I think, is $9 a month. I don't know exactly the rates. So like 9, 12, 13, and then 16 or something. Anyways, they're planning on increasing those rates between $1 and $2 a month per user, per subscriber. When you consider that they have about 200 million subscribers worldwide, that could be easily, with no other changes, between $500 million and $1 billion of increased revenue next year. So that's a pretty good chunk of change just to increase your rates. I mean, it's not like they don't ship anything. They just basically provide the content. And like you said, the customers are not going to just cancel the subscription because it's an extra buck or whatever. They're just not even going to notice it. But that when you have volume and you have so many loyal customers, that's an easy way to make another $1 billion. Not to mention that the stock market reacted, or the stock for Netflix reacted very nicely to it, and they are, welcoming the increase. Yeah. So that's another way that when everybody was thinking, we were talking about this actually about, I don't know, a few months ago when, you had HBO and Apple Plus and Hulu's and all these streaming video wars that we used to have as a regular segment. It doesn't seem like it's affected Netflix that much at the end of the day. They continue to have their own subscriber base. They continue.
Anybody who thought that Netflix was going to get hurt is stupid. I mean, we've said it so many times.
Right.
People are shocked. Oh my God, people who subscribe to Disney Plus, they're also subscribed to Netflix. It didn't cost Netflix subscribers.
Right.
What did you expect?
Right.
Of course.
So
I don't understand that people didn't get that. Now, you can the ones that are hurt and are weak are the lower tier streaming services, but they're lower tier for a reason. Netflix and Disney Plus, and honestly probably HBO too. I mean, HBO I think is the third, but they'll be fine too. I mean, these streaming services, they really know what they're doing. Like Apple, I think has no idea what they're doing.
Apple TV Plus is being a little bit of a, I don't know if a failure or I just don't get it, to be honest. I mean, they have some original.
I think Apple doesn't do content well. Like Apple's tried to do content a lot of times. It's not in their DNA.
But we talked about even with the podcast platform, the TV Plus platform. I don't really understand. I mean, the promotions they have, the shows they have, original programming. I don't know if people are willing. Now they're trying to bundle with the music and all that, but it's like, I don't know. There's too much. Like people already have Spotify. They have, with Amazon, they have their own Amazon
Spotify
Music
is just
and all
so much
that.
better than Apple Music.
Right. So Spotify is sitting their lunch with the podcast, with the music, with everything, and now Apple is trying to bundle the music, and they give you like, extra value. It's like, it's not extra value. I'm just getting these other things that I'm never going to use. So if I were to choose any service, I would stay definitely with Netflix. You're an Amazon Prime member, so you have Amazon Prime, all the TV programming there, all the movies and all that stuff. And then, if you like Disney programming, you get Disney or Hulu or whatever. But I don't think anything that comes in the streaming world is going to detract or take customers away from Netflix.
Because why do Netflix and Disney succeed? Why did Disney succeed so quickly when Apple didn't? When they basically launched very similar times.
Right, because Disney had a lot of programming already that was
Disney
exclusive.
has 100 years of IP.
And brands that they've acquired
Apple
too.
has nothing.
Yeah.
And Apple decided to go this high premium content route where they barely have anything on their platform. But everything on it is super high quality.
Right.
But people don't really care. Like, look at all the top shows on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are either old shows, The Office, Friends, things like that are old as hell. And their most popular shows are stupid, cheap dating shows and game shows, Tiger King, all these things that didn't cost money.
Look at Schitt's Creek.
I mean,
they just won.
look, how much do you think, I don't even know, I forget the name of all these stupid dating shows, but all these dating shows that are on Netflix right now, how much do you think those cost to produce versus the morning show that Apple did?
Yeah.
The morning show, I'm sure Apple spent
Netflix,
$100 million on that.
Plus Netflix,
and it got a tenth the viewership.
Yes, plus Netflix is much, much more international. And they have so many original programming for international shows for the international subscribers. I personally watch quite a few European-made shows that I kind of like sometimes, or at least I start watching and then if I don't like them, stop. But you see a lot of original programming that is not just made for the U.S. market.
The thing that Netflix
Whereas
does,
Apple TV Plus doesn't have that.
Netflix does really well is they're great. They've mastered the art of the high and the low. Mm-hmm. They have some high quality pieces, and they do put a lot of money towards those things. And they'll have a few of those every year, a couple original series, some original movies, whatever, right? That are high quality, high budget. But they also have this massive catalog of lower quality stuff, but they know that most people at night, when they're just looking to relax and put something on, and they're going to be on their phone half the time anyways, not really paying attention, they just want almost, I don't want to say like garbage, but like
No, I agree.
just
I do the same thing.
fodder in the background.
Yeah, I agree, because
They
that's
don't
exactly what I
want-
do. There's sometimes in the evening when I'm actually more on my laptop, just watching, looking at all different news from different countries or whatever. But I'm mostly on my laptop, just looking at stuff, and I have some kind of stupid Netflix shows in the background that I don't really care about. But it's just like there, I look up, maybe see something, but it's just like kind of some background noise, that you have it because it's maybe a repeated show or something that I don't need to have full attention, But bottom line is that Netflix can get away with this price increase, and it's
Plus,
just
the other
a
thing
slump
Apple
for them.
did that was stupid was everything has to be family friendly. No cursing, no nothing. I don't even think they can have like nudity, anything. Which is like, if Apple wanted to compete, they should try to compete with HBO to be like that high end, but also like adult content and stuff. But no, they don't want to do that because they're family friendly.
Yeah.
So they're gonna fail unless they change.
All right, David. So I'm going to finish with some sporting notes with NBA. We haven't talked to NBA for a while, and now we're in the finals. Yesterday was the first game of the finals.
There's not much to talk about.
I know it's not.
it's-
I'm not
I think
really
it's
that
over.
excited with this NBA finals, to be honest. I mean, Lakers. It was expected. I don't think anybody expected Miami to make it to the finals. We probably were expecting the Bucks or some other team, and that obviously that didn't happen. So, any comments on the finals? Are you excited? Obviously, the first game was not excited at all. It was basically over in the third quarter, or even sooner.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Not much.
No,
Definitely,
I thought the Lakers would win. I thought the Lakers would win 6. Now, if Miami has injuries, it might be less than that. But yeah, I mean, LeBron is going to get his 4th ring. Good for him. 10th finals.
So you think it's over? I mean, after one game, or you think Miami will be?
I mean, I thought they would win in 6. But if Miami lost Dragic now and they say
They lost Roger. That's right.
and Bam Adebayo might be injured, I'm not sure about that one. We're recording this the day after the first game. Yeah, I mean, if Miami has injuries, they're already the worst team. So if the whole thing was Miami had more depth, but if they start losing their depth due to injuries, then it's over.
All right. Well, that's pretty much all we have for now. Looking forward to the next debate.
No, I'm done with debates.
You think it'll be more people watching? More than 73 million? Who cares?
I don't know.
I'm telling you, man. That's. I definitely don't care
I
much
just
about
want to
the.
fast forward to
I know. I
December.
want to. And
So
the
we
other
can
thing is
move
that,
on.
unfortunately, I think these elections and just the final note, I think we will not know the results very quickly, which is going to be even worse because we're going to drag these elections into, I don't know, days after for sure, and maybe even to getting.
This is
ready
going to
to
make
things.
the, not that I remember it, but the 2000 election where they had the counting the
ballots.
votes at the very end.
Yeah.
That's going to make that look like nothing. This is
Yeah.
going to be way worse than that.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully not. So, anyways, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Do me a big favor, and if you like any of the sections of this podcast, please send it to a friend. Just engage one more friend to watch us, to listen to us. We're on YouTube. We're on pretty much every podcast platform. We have no sponsors, and we have no plans on getting sponsors because we just want to be completely independent and not be reliant on third-party constraints or anything. So, but you can just share the podcast with any friend. That would be great. Subscribe to it. We'll get it once a week, and hopefully, if you have any feedback, let us know by all means. And with all that said, we'll just see you next week with another show of MGR Unplugged. Thank you. Bye-bye.